Greetings and salutations, everyone. Today is the 22nd of July, 2024, and I am Thaddeus Satori. I would like to share with you my experience with cancer and the treatment that I chose for it. I want to make it clear that I am not medically trained in any way, and I am not giving advice. I am simply sharing my own personal journey. I'm going to lay this out in 3 parts. In part 1, I will tell you about the diagnosis and the treatment recommended in the U.S. In part 2, I will tell you a little bit about the treatment I received at Verita Life Clinic in Bangkok. And in part 3, I will tell about the post-treatment follow-up I received back in the United States. So in late July of 2017, I had what I thought was just a normal boil on my right cheek, just in front of the ear. I scheduled an appointment with a dermatologist to have it removed. I went in for the surgery and was given a local anesthetic, so I was awake through the procedure. As the doctor was doing his thing, he paused and said, "Well, this is strange. You've got all these red nodules in here." I didn't think much of it at the time, but I suspect he suspected something. So he sent some of the tissue off to a lab for a biopsy. Several days later, I received a phone call informing me that I had a skin cancer called Merkel Cell Carcinoma. All I was told is that it was very rare and very aggressive. So I did my own research on it, and I discovered that aggressive meant that I had between a 40 and 60% chance of living another 5 years. So it really was a death sentence. A few days later, or a week later, I don't remember, I was sat in front of an oncologist, and he recommended that I do surgery followed by radiation therapy, followed by chemotherapy, followed by immunotherapy. For reasons I won't get into, I was already familiar with a clinic in Bangkok that took a more holistic approach. I asked him if it were true that we all have cancer cells flowing through our blood all the time. And he said, well, yeah, that's basically true. And then I asked him if it were true that with a healthy immune system, the immune cells would identify these cancer cells as pathogens and kill them. And he said, yes, that was basically true. And then I asked him if it were true that if I received the radiation and the chemo, it would further damage my already failed immune system. And he said that that was basically true. After I left the oncologist's office and I was on my way out, the head nurse stopped me and she wanted to get the first radiation scheduled. And I told her that I was probably going to go to a clinic in Bangkok. She kind of freaked out and said, "Oh, you've got to talk to the doctor again." So I went back into the oncologist's office and sat down and explained to him, and he recommended that I have the surgery and the radiation therapy. So I left the office and I contacted the head doctor in Bangkok, and he recommended that I do the surgery so that we would be dealing with millions of cancer cells rather than billions, but he recommended that I do nothing more. So I followed his advice, and I had surgery performed by a very skilled plastic surgeon. The only thing he asked me was if necessary to leave a 2-centimeter perimeter should he sacrifice the facial nerve, and I said no, don't sacrifice the facial nerve. So I had the surgery, and shortly after that I flew to Bangkok. That ends part 1. Thank you for listening. I hope some of you found it useful, and I will be back with part 2 soon. Cheers.